Hey guys, in this first video in a series of videos I want to do about additive synthesis, I want to give you a quick overview of what additive synthesis is and what it does. So the short definition of additive synthesis is that you add stuff to make a sound. And we're pretty used to subtractive synthesis, which is what Massive uses. Maybe you're familiar with FM synthesis. Additive synthesis is actually quite a different thing, where since like Massive gives you a very complex sound to start with, additive synthesis gives you almost nothing to start with. And the advantage of that is that you can make the sound very clean. So instead of filtering away the stuff that you don't want, which is subtractive synthesis, that's why it's called that way, additive synthesis lets you add small partials to the sound. There are lots of additive synthesizers available in Reactor, just in Logic, in Ableton, pretty much anywhere. But I will be using Alchemy because it's I think it shows the way it works very nicely. So if we click add here for additive synthesis and we click on the edit page, we can see here that we have one partial. So here, this whole window is the list of all the partials that we have. And this first partial is just a sine wave. Right? Not very exciting. And there was a guy in the 18th century called Joseph Fourier, and he stated that every sound in the world consists of only sine waves. And with sine waves you can make complex other tones, and you can basically recreate every sound you want. It's like the building block of sound, because it's the most pure waveform. So if we test his little theory that he developed for years, and we start adding new waves, you can indeed hear that these are all sine waves, but together they make new sounds. So all we're doing is drawing harmonics, and you've probably heard that all the odd harmonics make up a square wave. So let's test that. Let's only use odd harmonics, like the 1, the 3, 5, the 7, 9. And we can indeed hear that it's very square wave-like, and it sounds very hollow, just like something we would expect from a square wave. So this way, with Alchemy, what you can do is create all these harmonics and create a very complex sound already, or a complex wave at least. And then we can morph this into another set of harmonics that can be totally different. This is just sort of a timeline. So at the beginning of the sound, the frequency map is looking like this. And then if we travel to the next point, we can make a new set of harmonics. And I'll zoom in a little bit. And we can make it sound like a whole other wave. So now the sound morphs from this wave to this wave. And we can let it loop between various points. Here we create some other stuff, and we're now just messing with the amplitude of the different partials, but we can also mess with the pitch. And we do that here, so then we're getting some pitch glides. If we go back to the main engine, we can already see that we added 60 new oscillators. So while this is one oscillator, the way it looks, we actually have 60 copies of the oscillator, because every new particle is a new oscillator. So let's get back to Joseph Fourier for a second. He said that every sound could be made out of just these sine waves. So we can test that, and we're not gonna try to do that in this editor and, for example, try to recreate a voice sound of this, or the sound of somebody talking, because I think that would take years. But luckily, Alchemy and a lot of these types of synths have a built-in feature that allows you to scan an audio file, and it will read the harmonics and then recreate the file with just sine wave oscillators. So let's go for a nice guitar part, and we click Additive mode to analyze the harmonics in the sound, and it takes a second or two. And then if we go back to the map, we can see that it's a lot more advanced than what we used to have, and the detail knob is down. If I drag it up, we can see that there are a lot of points in time where it has drawn the different harmonics in that part. So I think this guy might be right, because it sounds pretty close to me, especially if I just make it one MIDI note. So now nothing of the original sound is in there, it's just all sine waves. And I trashed the whole audio file, and it's not looking at that anymore. So this is pretty interesting, because now we sort of have a map of our sound, and we can change that map. So let's say, for example, this is the attack of the sound. If we change it here, we get a normal guitar sound, but with a very weird beginning. So that is a short introduction on additive synthesis. There's a lot of things you can do with it. You can make very clean and surgical sounds. You can make very weird sounds. You can make the craziest morphing bass sounds. So mess around with that. Try to find some synths that you like, that use this feature. Like I said, Reactor has a few built in. SumSynth is one of them, I think. And those are all free if you have Reactor. So check them out, and see you in the next video. Thanks.